Hey, welcome back. I'm Teacher Paul. I'm glad you tuned in. This is the Victory Team, and we're in the middle of a series called Spiritual Breakthrough Fasting, for spiritual fasting and prayer and fasting. We're trying to revive the old practice of including, this is not very popular, but including fasting with prayer. It might be more popular when you realize how powerful it is. Last episode we looked at Hannah and Daniel. In this episode we're going to open up the life of a man named Saul, who we will know later as the Apostle Paul. But at this time his name is Saul. If you have a Bible, we're going to be in Acts chapter 9. Real quick, just for review. We talked about fasting in the introduction. What is a fast? And we talked about, is this a new fad? Is this some crazy new thing that they're doing? Although it is very popular, the intermittent fasting and then the Daniel fast. This is not a new thing. They've been doing this for years and years and years. And fasting, is it good for your health? Is it something, will you die if you fast? No, it might actually help your health. In fact, some people are doing it for health reasons. But we do it primarily for spiritual reasons, to gain spiritual insight, and we say spiritual breakthrough. We need to see God working in our lives. We need prayer answered. We need help. And we're going to make our prayers effective as it can be. And including fasting certainly is a good thing to make your prayer effective. It's not a guarantee you're going to get your prayer answered, but it's a good thing to do. Okay? What is the purpose of it? Again, I just kind of mentioned that. A lot of people fast for weight loss. We fast for sin loss. It's okay. You want to lose weight too? It's okay too. Now we come to a man named Saul. Wow, what a testimony Saul is. What an interesting character. This is where Saul was in his life. He's a Pharisee. He's definitely a Jew. Tribe of Benjamin. He's out chasing down Christians and killing them and arresting them and beating them and intimidating them. And he hasn't done enough of it within Israel proper. He has permission, and he has a little militia apparently. He's going up to Damascus, which is to the north in Syria. It's there today, the capital of Syria. And he's going to find those Christians there, and he's going to bring them to Jerusalem. He's going to beat. He can't get enough of. He's so zealous for the law and what he thinks is to root out this bad thing. In Acts chapter 9, verse 1, you get an idea of this man's attitude. And Saul, yet, check this out, breathing out threatenings and slaughter against the disciples of the Lord. How would you describe this man's attitude? He's not a happy man. Breathing out threatenings. And there's some people that are just angry all the time. I mean, they just, it's just so bad for them. I'm sorry. And then, you know, the story, he meets Jesus along the way. And he ends up in like total shock. I got to skip the story and get down to verse 9. And he, Saul, was 3 days without sight, neither did eat nor drink. Wow. He saw Jesus, the one whom he was persecuting, the one whom he hated so much. He appears to him. And Jesus was actually kind to him. He just gave him some simple instruction. He said, hey, it's hard for thee to kick against the pricks. It's hard for you when you're rebelling against my... That's an old Greek proverb for training your animal, your ox or something. If they don't respond to your command, they go the other way. They kick themselves into like a sharp point on a spear or goad or some nails or something. It's not it's not comfortable, it's not good, it's not healthy. And a lot better to just obey right away. And Jesus kind of said that to him. And Saul's just going, wow, he can't see anything. What a crazy deal. He's in shock. And he begins an absolute fast. No food, no water. This is really interesting. In verse 10, and there was a certain disciple at Damascus named Ananias, and to him said the Lord in a vision. We're going to see this is the many visions. The Bible's not complete. They're actually making the Bible here in their history. But God is speaking to these men and women with visions. And visions, they see it's often coupled with fasting. He spoke to Ananias, and Ananias said, Behold, I am here, Lord. And the Lord said unto him, Arise, go into the street which is called Straight, and inquire in the house of Judas for one called Saul of Tarsus. For, behold, I love this, for behold, this is God speaking, he prayeth. Regarding Saul, he prayeth. Wow. Saul really, he's really praying. God recognizes that. He's got a plan for Saul, and he tells Ananias, he's afraid because I heard about this guy. He's come here to beat us. No. I have a plan for him. He's in my plan now. And Ananias obeyed, and he went his way. Verse 17, Ananias went his way, entered into the house, putting his hands on him, on Saul, said, Brother Saul, the Lord, even Jesus, that appeared unto thee in the way as thou camest, hath sent me, that thou mightst receive thy sight and be filled with the Holy Ghost. All this time, Ananias is responding to a vision. But Saul, praying, also has a vision. Go up to verse 12. We saw in verse 11, God said, For behold, he prayeth. Let's pick it up in verse 12. And hath seen in a vision a man named Ananias. Saul was praying and fasting, and he has at least one vision, I think more. He knows exactly. A man named Ananias is going to come, and he's going to touch you. You're going to be welcomed in. Wow. Really, really interesting. Saul becomes a changed man. Verse 19, when he received meat, that is, when he broke his fast, he was strengthened. Then was Saul certain days with the disciples, which were, check this out, at Damascus. Nowhere in this narrative, which is the actual account, does Saul leave Damascus. He's with the disciples at the Damascus. He breaks his fast after he's baptized, and there's no indication that he leaves the city. He stays with the disciples. I'm making a point. We'll see that later. There's certain terms that indicate that. In verse 19, certain days with the disciples which were at Damascus. And verse 20, straightway, immediately, he starts preaching. Here's this guy just suddenly converted, and he starts preaching with power and wisdom, so much so that the Jews there in Damascus they hate him. They want to kill him. And then verse 23, and after that many days were fulfilled. The Jews took counsel to kill him. All these days, Saul is in Damascus, preaching away. There's no indication that he left town for a period of time. Then finally, Saul leaves Damascus for Jerusalem. There's a point to all this, but I'm kind of building my case up. Verse 26. And when Saul was come to Jerusalem, he attempted to join himself to the disciples, but they were afraid. We'll read later, he only met a couple, I think Peter and John, and they didn't want to deal with Saul. They thought they only heard about his reputation for doing things. Fortunately, Barnabas was in Damascus, and he heard Saul preaching to the Jews. Barnabas says, "Hey, I know this guy. He preached. He's a straight shooter." And they finally said, "Oh, okay, if you say so," and they let him in their fellowship, if you will. Now, here's where I'm going with this, and we're doing a long kind of a Bible study, but it's good. It all has to do with prayer, fasting, and the visions, spiritual insight and clarity. That's how things work at this time. It seems like everybody's having this vision. Everybody's praying, everybody's fasting. Look through the book of Acts, the early church. Whenever they did anything, they prayed and fasted. Then they laid hands, and they did this and they did that. They sent people out. I'm trying to revive that. I'm trying to show you it's a good thing to do. I hope so. Here's your homework. You have homework. And it's easy. In the book of Galatians, Paul writes later an epistle to the people at Galatia. And in verse 17 of chapter 1, he said this, speaking of his testimony, he says, I met Jesus on the road to Damascus, and then I went into Arabia, and returned again unto Damascus. Wow. When did that happen? That's your homework. When did that happen? How could he have done that? There's no indication here in the book of Acts, the actual account, that he traveled. And to go to Arabia from Damascus is, Damascus is way up north. That's Syria, north of Israel. Arabia is way down south, way down like near Egypt or something, way to the south. It's not even on the maps anymore. Why would this guy do that? How did he do that doesn't make any sense, but it will make sense. And it does fit. All right, that's your assignment. I'll give you a hint. It has to do with prayer and fasting. When we seriously pray and seriously include fasting, God gives spiritual insight. When you're in an extended fast, you start seeing things, and certainly you smell things like food, but you start seeing things with clarity and it's understanding. That happened to me. I was in a 100-hour fast, and I began to see things in the Bible that were, this is very clear now. And I feel like I traveled. I was with people far on the other side of the globe, and I learned how to pray for them. And it was very interesting. It sounds strange. I wasn't dropping acid. I wasn't, doing any kind of drugs at all. I think it was just spiritual insight, and we'll see about that. Okay. Before you go, check out our sponsor. And if this is interesting to you, if you like this, we would like it if you liked it, commented. Are we on the right track? Are we helping you? Because that's what we want to help you. Okay? God bless you. Have a good week. Bye-bye.